I was in love with Shawn for 5 years. But 2 days before our wedding, I discovered his secret Twitter account filled with posts about his ex-girlfriend. Heartbroken, I agreed to go back home to take over the family business. On our wedding day, I ran away. I wore my wedding dress and married someone else, and Shawn lost his mind. Chapter 1. Mom, I'm coming back. My mother was thrilled to hear I was returning to take over the family business, but she was also a bit concerned. Didn't you say you had a boyfriend? Won't coming back affect your relationship? There's no boyfriend anymore. I'm planning to break up. My voice was a bit hoarse. Afraid she might notice something, I quickly hung up the phone after speaking. I read through Shawn's diary entries hidden in his secret Twitter account, and tears kept streaming down my face. Tonight, he went to a school reunion. I had planned to go with him to meet his classmates, but he had refused harshly. After he left, the wedding planner called to say the documents were ready. When I opened my laptop, I noticed his Twitter avatar was different from usual. I clicked on it and discovered it was his secret account, filled with daily thoughts about his ex-girlfriend. Together for so long, he had never remembered how long we had been together. But he remembered exactly that he had been with Charlotte for 1,361 days. It was only at that moment that I realized it wasn't that he had a bad memory, his heart was simply not with me. For 5 years, I had always made excuses for his indifference. How foolish I had been, like a clown deceiving myself. I could still hear the words of his friends when they first met me. Man, you've already forgotten Charlotte and found someone new? At that time, I hadn't noticed the sadness in Shawn's eyes and had laughed, saying that people shouldn't be stuck on one person forever. I never thought an ex could be so unforgettable that I overlooked the fact that there was someone he had once held dear in his heart. And even now, he hadn't let go. Wiping away my tears, I picked up my phone, intending to break up with Shawn, but saw that my long messages to him had gone unanswered. That's when I noticed his WeChat ID. The initials were W. I let out a self-mocking laugh. How naive I had been. I had once asked him what W stood for, and he had refused to tell me. I later looked it up online and found it was a term used in computing. Since he worked in IT, I believed it. But now, I finally understood W stood for Charlotte's initials. The table was covered with wedding items I had bought. Wedding stickers, mourning robes, pastries. All in glaring red. Even though Shawn had said the wedding would be simple and didn't need much preparation, I couldn't help but buy these things. I picked up a wedding sticker from the table and tore it to pieces. My eyes stung with tears. Just as I had bought my plane ticket, Shawn's best friend called me. Lillian, Shawn got into a fight at the reunion. We're at the police station now. Can you come and get him? I was about to speak when I heard Shawn's voice through the receiver. Only I can mess with Charlotte. No one else. My heart ached unexpectedly. The call ended abruptly. I wept quietly, then steadied myself, washed my face, and saw the Stellaloo plush hanging by the mirror. Shawn had given it to me last year. Although I wasn't interested in cute plush toys, I had been happy because it was a rare gift from him. I thought it was because he wasn't romantic. But today, I discovered from his diary that he had bought the Stellaloo plush on a whim because Charlotte liked it. When they were together, he gave her one every year. I pulled the plush down and angrily threw it into the trash can. Then I saw the Stellaloo pattern on the trash can. I smiled bitterly. Shawn had bought that trash can. A wave of helpless frustration surged through me, and I kicked the trash can over. I then took the trash can and its contents to the community dumpster. As I reached the police station door, I heard a familiar voice inside. Please don't leave. I opened the door and saw Shawn tightly hugging a woman from behind. His eyes were red. And the woman he was hugging was Charlotte. Chapter 2. Shawn's best friend looked stunned to see me, not expecting me to arrive so quickly. Shawn's drunk. Don't overthink it. He pulled Shawn away from Charlotte. Shawn's face and body were injured, but he stubbornly held onto Charlotte. He mumbled, "Get lost." It was the first time I'd seen him so drunk. I had always known him to drink in moderation. At least, I had never seen him this drunk. His best friend looked troubled, pulling Shawn. "Lillian is here. Go home with her." Shawn was unmoved. I was about to pull Shawn away when Charlotte turned and smiled at him. Shawn, taller than her, lowered his head to see her clearly. "Okay, I won't leave. Just let go of me, okay?" Shawn obediently let go. His eyes were red, like a child who had done something wrong. His best friend sighed with relief. He introduced Charlotte to me. "This is Charlotte, our high school classmate who just returned from abroad. She's close with Shawn. Don't overthink it." In the past, I would have asked questions. Why did Shawn get into a fight at the reunion? But now, I just smiled faintly. Charlotte glanced at me. His best friend introduced me to her. "This is Shawn's fiancée, Lillian." "What fiancée?" Shawn frowned with disgust. "She's just a friend." In an instant, my hand clenched tightly under my sleeve. My fingernails dug into my palm, causing pain. His best friend looked awkward and smiled at me. It wasn't the first time Shawn had hidden my identity. When I first invited him to change his profile picture to match mine, asked him to announce our relationship on social media, and suggested meeting his parents, I should have guessed the outcome. But I stubbornly persisted for 5 years, thinking I could win him over. In the end, I lost. Charlotte smiled at me, and I forced a smile, extending my hand. "Hello, I'm Lillian, Shawn's friend." For a moment, the atmosphere grew tense. His best friend hesitated to speak. Charlotte glanced at me without shaking my hand, saying dismissively, "Sorry, I cut my hand. It hurts." Before I could react, Shawn grabbed her hand and examined it carefully, worried something might be wrong. "Are you okay? Did a glass shard cut you? Let's go to the hospital." Charlotte smiled gently. "Silly, you're hurt badly, and you don't care. What's a small cut to me? You're still as silly as 10 years ago. Don't be silly for me again, okay?" I looked at her small cut, which would heal soon. But Shawn was heartbroken, his eyes red as he kept apologizing. "It's my fault. I didn't protect you. Does it hurt?" I remembered 6 months ago when I first cooked at his place. Hot oil splattered on me, raising a white blister on my arm, making me tremble with pain. He had only criticized me for not knowing how to cook and being fussy. Getting burned while cooking is common. No one else makes such a fuss. You're so dramatic. So, I was supposed to be tough and not feel pain, while Charlotte was a precious jewel who couldn't bear a scratch. At that moment, it felt like something exploded inside me. The pain was excruciating. I thought he was just bad at expressing himself, or that he was a man who believed girls shouldn't be pampered. But what I thought was just my imagination. Today's events slapped me in the face. I expressionlessly took him from the police station. As we approached the car, Charlotte chased after us. She carefully wiped Shawn's forehead with a tissue. Then she apologized to me. "I'm sorry. Shawn fought because of me. A classmate said something unpleasant to me. I didn't mind, but Shawn, he's still as impulsive as 10 years ago." I smiled bitterly. No wonder the usually calm Shawn fought with someone. It was for his first love. I bit my lip, didn't say a word, and was ready to leave when she called me back. "Shawn is hurt. Be careful when you treat his wounds. He's very sensitive to pain. You might need to give him a candy to keep him calm." She took out a jar of colorful candies from her bag and smiled. "Men are like children, they need coaxing. This is his favorite candy, and Shawn drank a lot. He's restless when he sleeps. Please make sure he's covered and keep a dim light on. It helps him sleep better." I gritted my teeth, fists clenched tightly. Looking into her innocent eyes, I nodded after a while. She added me as a friend, and I noticed her profile picture matched Shawn's. On the way home, Shawn quickly fell asleep. He kept murmuring a name. Charlotte. Chapter 3. During the drive, I couldn't stop crying. Thinking about the 5 years with Shawn, hearing him call another woman's name. My heart felt like it was being torn apart. When we got home, Shawn's phone kept buzzing with messages from Charlotte, checking on him. I wanted to reply politely. But then I saw the group chat with his friends. If this fake wedding doesn't bring her back, I'll give up. Share the news of my wedding, but set it so only she can see it. I don't want anyone else to know. I was stunned, quickly closing the phone. My head buzzed, and tears flowed uncontrollably. My emotions stuck in my throat. I remembered. 2 days ago, his sudden proposal. So rushed. No wedding house, no ring, and no family notification. He said he'd make up for it with a proper wedding later, and I believed him. I even thought my years of effort had moved him, making him eager to give me a wedding. But now, any lingering feelings for this relationship were gone. I told myself, since I planned to leave, it didn't matter what they did. Shawn woke up, mostly sober, and went to shower after taking off his shirt. Just then, my boss called about an urgent file. I was about to open my laptop when Shawn's voice stopped me. "Don't touch my laptop." I paused, calmly replying, "I just need to edit a file, nothing else." Seeing I was just editing a file, he didn't say anything. Reaching over me for water, he noticed the candies. His face instantly frowned. "Where did you get these candies?" His impatient tone questioned me. Casually, I replied, "I bought them at a store. Is there a problem?" His expression turned disdainful. "Eat less candy, you're already fat and can't control yourself." Fat? I sneered coldly. Charlotte wasn't slimmer than me, yet she carried candies daily. But I was seen as indulgent. I didn't argue. Ready to leave, he called me back. "We're taking wedding photos tomorrow at blank. I heard they're good." Facing away from him, he didn't see my red eyes. "Okay, whatever you say." I knew why he changed his mind. Charlotte's bridal shop was named blank. I didn't expose him, wanting to part on good terms. At the bridal shop, Shawn was distracted, eagerly searching for something. When a familiar figure appeared, his anxiety eased. "Char!" He left me and quickly approached Charlotte. I stood alone, struggling to put on the dress. Shawn chatted with Charlotte, and I stood before the mirror, admiring myself. Which girl doesn't look forward to wearing a wedding dress? Chapter 4. Seeing me in the mirror, Shawn sneered. "Enough, you look the same." Charlotte smiled at me. "She looks good in this dress." "Just okay." Shawn replied coldly. "She's a bit fat. It would look better on you." He handed Charlotte a dress. "How about you try it for her?" Charlotte saw through him, playfully scolding. "You just want to see me in a wedding dress, right?" She glanced at me. "Won't your fiancé mind?" Shawn's reply was clear. "Don't worry about her." A bold statement, openly showing Charlotte that even though I was his fiancé, I had no place in his heart. Hearing Shawn, Charlotte took to dresses to try on. Each time she came out, Shawn praised her. They looked more like a couple taking wedding photos. I stood aside, feeling like an outsider. Charlotte finally chose a simple dress. "This is our latest design, very accommodating. It's perfect for you." I didn't take the dress from her, my eyes locked on a mermaid gown behind her. Shawn, seeing I didn't take Charlotte's dress, frowned. "Lillian, she kindly helped you choose a dress. What's your attitude?" Calmly, I replied. "I don't like the dress she chose." Shawn sneered. "You don't like it?" Charlotte is the owner and a professional designer. She knows better than you. He ordered. "Try it on." She made the right choice. I ignored him, taking the mermaid gown I liked. I had been dieting to fit into it. Seeing me take another dress, Shawn assumed I was being difficult. Charlotte added, "This dress requires a great figure. Most people can't pull it off, which is why I didn't choose it for you. Did you hear that?" Shawn glared. Do you think you can wear that dress? Do you think you're like Charlotte? Know your limits. All you do is nitpick and get jealous. You're useless. Really? For the first time, I stood up to him. I laughed coldly, eyes stinging. You keep saying I'm not good enough. Why don't you just marry Charlotte? Throwing the dress on the floor, I walked out without looking back. I heard Charlotte behind me. Maybe you should go after her? Shawn dismissed it. She can do whatever she wants. I don't care. Chapter 5. That night, Shawn woke me up. He frowned, scolding me. Lillian, how old are you to be so childish? Do you know how embarrassing you were today? Charlotte is my high school friend. Can't you show some respect? I was already annoyed from being woken up. His scolding made it worse. I don't respect you? Do you respect me? He froze, then handed me flowers. I quickly covered my nose. He arrogantly said, For you. Unlike you, I don't hold grudges. Blue roses, your favorite. I laughed. He had never given me flowers, forgetting I was allergic. I covered my nose, telling him, Take them away. He thought I was still angry, his face darkening. Lillian, enough with the drama. Is this necessary? I sneezed, and he looked disgusted. His phone rang. It was Charlotte. I didn't hear what she said, but Shawn rushed out. Not even saying goodbye. I took allergy medicine, remembering he had bought it for me. How could he forget my flower allergy? He didn't come home that night. Not a single call. On our wedding day, I packed my bags and headed to the airport. I called him to break up. He hung up. I was about to text him when Charlotte messaged me. Shawn stayed up all night taking care of me. He's sleeping now. Call later. I stared at the screen, bitterly smiling. Then I typed back. No problem. Tell Shawn I want to break up. The wedding is yours. Chapter 6. She sent 2 long voice messages. I didn't listen, deleting her contact. Hearing the boarding announcement, I turned my phone to airplane mode and boarded. In those hours, my emotions fluctuated greatly. From quiet sobbing to calm acceptance. The hardest part of breaking up isn't losing them, but when I've just made peace with it. Seeing something interesting, I instinctively thought of him. My heart felt empty. 5 years later, back in this foreign land, I felt a mix of emotions. Outside the airport, I expected my parents. But the person who came surprised me. A tall man with handsome features. My first love, Liam. We dated in college, breaking up over trivial matters. Had enough fun? He teased, knowing I had dated in my home country. I smiled, not responding. He took my luggage, walking beside me. Just then, the wedding planner called. Miss Lillian, is your wedding still on? Guests have left. We waited for you, but you didn't show. Your groom isn't here either. We've never seen this before. We called him, but he hung up when he heard you weren't coming. So, we're calling you. Holding the phone, I hesitated. Liam glanced at me, then took the phone, replying. Thank you. We won't be having the wedding. I'll handle the payment. Hanging up, he looked at me, partly scolding. Lillian, can't you set higher standards? Why date someone who mistreats you? Liam knew everything. His eyes held both reproach and concern. We dated for 3 years in college. He couldn't bear to see me cry. Even if I was wrong, he'd apologize if I teared up. Time had faded those memories, but he had once cherished me deeply. Returning home, my mom made a big meal. Liam donned an apron to help. The table was filled with my favorites. Just as I was about to dig in, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I answered, and Shawn's angry voice came through. Lillian, have you lost your mind? Who gave you the nerve to block me? Where are you? Speak up. And you told Charlotte you're breaking up with me? I told you we're just friends. Stop being unreasonable. His voice was loud enough for my mom and Liam to hear. Chapter 7. I frowned, speaking coldly. Charlotte told you, right? We're done. Where I go is none of your business. And don't call from unknown numbers. I'll block you every time. He kept yelling. Lillian, you're pushing it. Fine, but don't regret it. I was about to hang up when Liam took the phone, calmly saying, Finished? Lillian is eating. Don't disturb her. The other end was silent. Then Shawn's voice demanded, Who are you? Where's Lillian? Click. Liam hung up. Handing me the phone, he smiled. Next time, let me handle it. I took the phone and started eating. My mom's cooking was excellent. But enjoying a meal wasn't easy. My friend back home called, sounding anxious. Lillian, didn't you tell your husband you were going abroad? He called me, sounding desperate, looking for you. I didn't tell him your dad's company was abroad, just your address. Hearing this, I took a deep breath. It's okay. What's done is done. He won't come looking for me. I added. By the way, I broke up with him. My friend paused, feeling guilty. If I had known, I wouldn't have answered his call. After hanging up, I felt a bit irritated, rubbing my temples. Liam handed me some braised pork, my favorite. Eat more. You've lost weight. Before, if I wanted to eat meat, Shawn's harsh words would stop me. I devoured the braised pork. It had been a long time since I'd eaten so well. After dinner, Liam washed the dishes, trying to impress my mom. I saw right through him. My mom beamed. Look how diligent Liam is. He really likes you. She knew about our past and encouraged us to rekindle our relationship. Our high school romance is really unforgettable. My feelings for Liam had faded, leaving only vague memories. I could let go of my first love, but Shawn clung to his ex for years. The next day, my dad took me to the office to get familiar with the business. For some reason, Liam decided to work at my dad's company, even though he didn't need to. When he greeted me with a cheerful, "What a coincidence!" I rolled my eyes. Yeah, right. He knew exactly what he was doing. After a busy day learning the company ropes, I felt dizzy but relieved, too occupied to think about Shawn. No more calls from unknown numbers. I thought I'd left Shawn behind, but as I left the office, I saw a familiar figure. Before I could escape, he grabbed my arm. Why didn't you tell me you were leaving? Was it because I took care of Charlotte? Is that why? Don't be like this. I tried to pull away, but his grip was strong. Looking up, my eyes red, I confronted him. Why not? You filled your secret Twitter with thoughts of her. Our wedding was just a ploy to bring her back. I looked at him seriously. He had flown overnight, his face showing exhaustion. His eyes were red, voice hoarse. Once, I would have been heartbroken seeing him like this. Now, I felt nothing but satisfaction at his misery. His face fell, and he sighed deeply. I told you not to touch my laptop. It has sensitive work files. Why can't you trust me? He scolded me, then took a deep breath, softening his tone. I'm sorry. He wanted to explain, but I cut him off. I glared at him, laughing bitterly. You wouldn't take me to your reunion, the wedding planner couldn't reach you, and I had to confirm everything. Do you think I wanted to see your pathetic diary? It disgusted me. Maybe he'd never seen me this upset before. He stood there, frowning. He thought I was being irrational. Chapter 8. This time, he didn't scold me. Instead, he spoke gently, trying to soothe me. I can explain those diary entries. I admit I couldn't forget her initially, but I stopped writing them. Didn't you notice? She left me for another man, and I wanted to make her feel the same pain. I didn't mean to hurt you. Believe me, I don't have feelings for her anymore. Taking care of her was just out of old friendship. Nothing more. Please, believe me. Listening to his excuses, I felt nothing. Right then, Charlotte called. I saw the flash of irritation in his eyes. He ignored it. Then she called again. He glanced at me before answering, his tone angry. Your stomach hurts? Go see a doctor. I'm not a doctor. I could hear Charlotte crying on the other end. He was unmoved. I scoffed. He was trying to prove he didn't care about her. Just as he once proved he didn't care about me. We were both fools. His greatest love was himself. In that moment, any lingering feelings vanished. I even felt relieved to be free of him. He hung up, still gripping my hand. His eyes were red, looking genuinely pained. Lillian, I'll delete those diary entries. I was blinded by hate, but I love you now. Can you give me another chance? I'll show you how much I love you. His eyes were full of hope, but Liam stepped in, pulling me into his arms. Didn't I tell you not to cling to other men? Be good now. Liam's presence made Shawn uneasy. Seeing Liam's affectionate gesture, Shawn's face darkened. Who is he? Shawn glared at Liam, who smirked. I'm Lillian's first love. He turned to Shawn, teasing. You have a first love, right? You should understand our bond. Shawn's face turned grim. I didn't explain, walking away with Liam. In the car, Liam kept glancing at me. Are you okay? After a while, he asked. I shook my head. My mind was a whirl of emotions. Liam looked at me, his feelings bursting forth. He kissed me deeply. I struggled at first, then tears fell. He touched my wet cheeks, stopping. I'm sorry? My eyes red, I looked at him. Liam, if we weren't so childish back then, we'd be married, right? My words seemed to touch him. His eyes reddened. It was my fault. I kissed him, telling him, Liam, let's get married. Chapter 9. Over the weekend, Liam and I went out. Returning home, I found Shawn on my couch. My mom sat beside him, chatting amicably. Seeing me, Shawn stood up, wanting to approach. But when he saw Liam, his face changed. My mom explained. Shawn said he's your friend from home, came all this way to see you. He waited for you. Shawn tried to talk to me, but I ignored him, walking inside. Seeing Liam holding my hand, Shawn's face darkened. He tried to assert dominance, pulling me to him with an excuse. I bought your favorite walnut cookies. The shop closed, so I searched everywhere. He handed me a piece, eyes hopeful. Try it? I pulled away. I don't like them anymore. Liam adjusted his glasses, setting down his things. A handmade flower bouquet peeked out. My mom beamed. Liam, you remembered Lillian's flower allergy and got a handmade bouquet. So thoughtful. Hearing this, Shawn's eyes showed guilt. Only now did he realize why I had rejected his flowers. Because I was allergic. When my mom spoke next, Shawn couldn't stay seated. Lillian, your dad is busy, so you and Liam should pick a wedding date. The word wedding made Shawn pale. What wedding? He looked at me, stunned. Lillian, you're getting married? Chapter 10. I smiled, not confirming or denying, but Liam's bouquet and the decoration said it all. Shawn seemed to want to say more, but stopped. His eyes were red, voice hoarse. Congratulations, Lillian. Be happy. I smiled. I will. Shawn left, looking defeated. I felt no sympathy. For a moment, I wondered why I had ever loved him. After Shawn left, my dad returned, mentioning casually. On my way back, I saw a young man about Lillian's age jump into the river. Young people today can't handle pressure. I didn't think much of it. These things happen. After dinner, sending Liam off, my phone rang. The hospital called. I had a bad feeling. Is this Miss Lillian? Shawn has been admitted after a fall. It's serious. Are you family? Holding the phone, I hesitated. Hello. Miss? I'm a friend. He needs surgery. Can you come sign the forms? I don't have time. Hanging up, I remembered Charlotte was also abroad. I sent her the hospital info before deleting her contact. Why should I care about that jerk? I watched shows and texted Liam. I had moved on. This time, I didn't hesitate or worry about Shawn's recovery. Before our wedding, Liam and I went for a health checkup. We ran into Shawn at the hospital. He looked different. Once handsome, now gaunt with stubble. He had lost a lot of weight. Seeing me, he tried to avoid us. Shawn! Liam called out. Shawn turned, smiling awkwardly. I looked at him. He was a mess. That day, I had told Charlotte about Shawn's condition. But she was busy with her foreign boyfriend. His parents had rushed to save him. But he was diagnosed with late-stage pancreatic cancer. Shawn glanced at us, regret filling his eyes. He finally asked, red-eyed, Lillian, I don't have much time left. Can you stay with me? I smiled, handing him an invitation. Our wedding is Monday. Will you come? He stared at the invitation, silent for a long time. His eyes dimmed. Yes, I'll come. Chapter 11. On our wedding day, I wore the mermaid gown I'd always loved. Liam looked dashing in his white suit. Holding his arm, I walked up the steps, exchanging vows under the eyes of friends and family. But I didn't see Shawn. I thought he might not come, and I understood. But near the end of the reception, I got a message from an unknown number. You looked beautiful in the mermaid dress today. My body failed me, I wanted to see you more. I was the one who lost you. Be happy. Holding my phone, I felt a mix of emotions. Liam took my hand asking, What's wrong? I shook my head and joined him in greeting guests. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. After the wedding, at dawn, Shawn's mother called. Her voice was desperate. Lillian, Shawn is dying. Can you see him one last time? I hesitated, and she added, I know he wronged you. I heard Shawn's weak voice. Mom, Lillian is sleeping. Don't disturb her. His mother's sobs were heart-wrenching. My son, you're in so much pain but won't let go. You're waiting for Lillian. I looked at Liam. He patted my shoulder, smiling gently. It's okay. Go see him. I'll come with you. At the hospital, Shawn was still breathing. As I entered, he took his last breath. His mother's cries were heart-wrenching. He looked at me trying to smile, a tear falling. Shawn was gone. I never imagined our story would end this way. On a rainy day in April, I visited his grave once. After that, he faded from my memory. And as he wished, I lived a happy life.